I was working at a petrol station in a far-off village late one night. I had worked there for years, but that evening, a strange event happened. I noticed a person who began acting suspiciously. He had a druggy appearance, was constantly exhausted and uneasy, but he typically entered and left without raising any disturbance. He was different this time around. I noticed evil energy surrounding him as he paced around the shop. He gave me a menacing look when I offered to help and quickly left. He skipped the next few evenings, but when he did, his attitude had radically changed. At 2 in the morning, he entered the room slowly and with a vacant look on his face. His drowsy eyes gave me the creeps. In contrast to his typical hasty approach, he spent his time choosing some food. He made his first speech when he walked up to the desk and mutely said, "Thank you." But before I could respond, he was seized and thrown into a van by 4 enigmatic men who had suddenly materialized. They left his truck behind before disappearing without a trace. The man appeared to have vanished from existence, and the police were unable to discover any leads. Weeks slipped into days, and the gas station started to haunt me. I could not get rid of the lingering sense of darkness. Which dudes were those? What were they looking for in him? I lacked answers, and I became terrified. The petrol station grew eerier with time. Through the night, strange noises echoed, and I had the impression that someone was watching me. Customers reported strange occurrences such as objects moving on their own or lights flickering for no apparent cause. The formerly friendly location had changed into a terrifying nightmare. One evening, as I was shutting the business, I noticed a shadowy figure lurking outside. I was overcome with fear, but I forced myself to face it. It was obvious as I got closer that it was the same man who had vanished a few weeks earlier. He appeared wan and worn out, like if he had been through awful tragedies. "They're coming for me," he murmured frantically. "You must assist me." The 4 men surrounded us as they emerged from the shadows before I could react. They were tall, and their features were hidden by their dark hoods. As they drew near, their eyes were glistening with ill will, and my heart hammered in my chest. They threatened to take us both away while speaking in low, menacing tones. I took hold of the man's hand and dragged him away from the front of the petrol station in an effort to free him. In our haste, we hurried through the storage area, knocking down boxes. The men chased after us, their footsteps creating a terrifying soundtrack of death. The back door was locked when we got there. We panicked as soon as we realized there was no escape. We were being choked by the men as they drew nearer. We kicked the door in a desperate attempt to get it to open, and when it eventually did, we stumbled out into the night. We sprinted across the deserted streets without dare turn around. The once familiar town now seemed like a terrifying maze. In a deserted building, we found safety from those who wanted to attack us. The person talked once we had a chance to catch our breath. He disclosed that he had discovered something that he shouldn't have, and that had attracted the attention of those evil men. The shadows that lurked in the night had now marked him, and they would pursue him forever. We lived in constant anxiety after that night and constantly scanned our surroundings. The gas station vanished into obscurity, and the formerly peaceful village was transformed into a terrifying nightmare. We were unable to avoid the horrors that lurked in the shadows, and our lives were permanently altered. I was working the night shift at a lone gas station in a small, remote village 2 years ago. I was by myself, and the blackness outside appeared to consume everything. The only sound that occasionally disturbed the eerie calm was a passing automobile. I had just finished my activities for the evening when I heard the front door creak open. I kept working anxiously when I heard a quiet thump at the back door. It appeared that someone was attempting to enter. I stood still while listening, but all I heard was quiet. I made the decision to look at the security footage because I was torn between fear and curiosity. I was horrified to see a figure standing outside the back door. Despite not moving, the person had their hand on the handle. As I played back the video from the front entrance, I didn't take my eyes off the figure. The same individual was once more seen approaching the gas station, opening the door and scurrying around to the back of the structure. I hadn't seen this person before, but they had been in here before. My spine tingled as a result of it. I dialed 911 while feeling my heart race to report the intruder. Another thump, this time coming from the front, interrupted my phone conversation. I turned to look at the cameras and noticed the figure circling the structure and moving toward the entrance. I grabbed the pistol from under the counter out of panic. The person crashed through the front door with such force that the glass was dramatically shaken. They had a maddening glare in their eyes as they charged at me. They instantly turned around, though, and ran back to the rear room. They kept kicking the door, and I could hear it. I proceeded to provide the police with information while trembling, and they soon arrived. The damaged door was used by 3 officers to gently approach the back room. I prayed for their safety while I observed from behind the counter. They discovered the person in the corner talking to themselves in a perfectly sedate manner. They were tightly holding a kitchen knife. It appeared as though the apparition could neither hear or see the cops' attempts to reason with them. The stranger suddenly, and without warning, leaped at the policeman, intending to stab them. As soon as the figure was brought under control by the authorities, I released a breath I was holding unknowingly. I couldn't help but wonder who they were and why they had chosen to target our petrol station as they shackled the individual. The police questioned the figure after the incident, but they remained silent and provided no justification for their actions. We were all in disbelief and confusion as they were taken away. After that, the night seemed even darker, and I couldn't get rid of the impression that something more ominous was hiding in the darkness. I'll never forget the unsettling sight of that person lingering, watching, and leaving us with unanswered questions as it stood at the back door. My father operated a petrol station in the ghost town of Ravenwood, where darkness crept around the borders. I had assisted Dad in running it for more than 6 years, but operating the register had always given me the creeps. Every night shift sent chills down my spine because the area has a history of odd happenings. I was alone myself at the gas station one rainy night, and the rain was muffling any noise from the street. I felt alone and exposed because most clients had avoided the bad weather. A beaten-looking gray SUV drew up as the clock struck 1 in the morning, and a man got out. His face was hidden by a black sweatshirt, and he had a nervous demeanor. He began filling a startling quantity of gas cans, one after the other. He peered at the cans as if they had some sinister purpose, and I sensed a menacing presence. My heart started to rush when he abruptly entered the store. His eyes locked into mine with an unsettling intensity as he threw a box of matches on the counter, and I made an effort to remain calm. He yelled, "Come on, I gotta get going." And I paused, dreading the worst. I managed to add, attempting to ignore the sense of dread, "I'm not sure if I'm comfortable selling these to you. What, you think I'm gonna burn a house down or something?" He chuckled menacingly. My spine tingled at the sight of his icy smile. He went, but I was unable to get rid of the fear that had set in. The man was acting strangely, so I contacted the police, hoping they would catch him before anything bad happened. The hours seemed to stretch into minutes as the night went on, and my worry increased. When the police car arrived, the policeman questioned me in depth regarding the individual. As I recited the unpleasant details, fear tore through me. I had no idea that this individual had evil motives. The unpleasant sensation persisted for a week. In search of clarification, I dialed the station. The policeman told me that they had arrested the man in the act of dousing a house with gasoline while people were inside. He was going to set it on fire, but the police came to the rescue just in time. I was shocked by the news after realizing how near I had come to a disaster. I felt shivers run down my spine as I considered what might have happened. The night's events tormented me because they nearly swallowed us whole in Ravenwood's darkness. The gas station developed a tense atmosphere after that evening, as a constant reminder of the evil lurking in the corners. The gloomy past of the town weighed heavily on my mind, haunting me with the shadows that threatened to swallow us.